Good evening, everyone. How are you? I hope everyone had a great Christmas, and that I don't know if you are the kind of people that make New Year's resolutions. I kind of gave up on those a long time ago. Now that I'm 60, I just try to do the best I can each day, but I want to wish everyone a great 2019 and thank you all for coming to our first meeting of the year. And with that, would like to invite you to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to Ken Benedict in the back, who has been so wonderful to tape our meetings and make them available online to those who can't come. So there are some people who are watching live on Facebook right now. So if there's ever a time when you're not able to come, you can dial it. Just know that you can dial in. And if you like my Facebook and follow me, then that will kind of keep you updated on my activities and how I'm representing you, and keep you in the loop when we start doing survey, when we're reaching out to get feedback from you, which we do periodically. That's one way that you can connect with us. And I want to ask those who are in the room who are on the CPAC, is there anyone in the room that's on the CPAC or elected to Recreation and Parks, or on a board or commission with the county? Anyone who's serving in a community leadership position here today? No one's, okay. No, okay, but we do have Bruce, our library director, Bruce Barber, in the back. Thank you for coming, Bruce. And also Tina, my right hand and left hand, Tina Barclay. So this evening, I want to just start out by saying there's quite a bit of little stuff tonight that I wanted to update you on, and I'm hoping that we're going to have plenty of time for questions and answers and challenges and all that good stuff. So I'm going to go through these updates as quickly as I can. If you have questions, don't hesitate to raise your hand. We're going to be talking a little bit about the library update and things, what's going on with that, economic development at the county, homeless update, some quality of life issues, just kind of reporting back on some things that the county did last year. Just a follow-up update on the Inspector General Sheriff issue in case you didn't watch the meeting in December, and a couple of announcements. And so I thought before we start, I would just start with the library. Those of you who have been, is there anyone, I know there's a couple here that have never been to one of our meetings before. Anyone who has not been to this meeting before? Oh, quite a few. Great. Okay. Wow. Thank you for coming. There is a list going around that is a sign up for our newsletter. That list is just asking for your first and last name and your email. It's not information that we share with anyone. Our newsletter is short and concise. We try to make it an easy read, and it tries to be something that's pertinent to, things I did, how I voted, if I voted no, why I voted no, so that you have a good understanding of how I'm representing you. And so that goes out once a month, and you'll receive announcements and so forth. So if you want to sign up for that, where is that list? Is it going around? Okay, it's going around. So make sure you sign up on that if you want to get our newsletter. And so the library, those of you who have been dialed in and may know that over time the Orangevale Library has been the dream for, I think, decades. It's something that many supervisors have been working on, and that was one of my big things that I just decided that was going to happen. Yeah, it turns out it's not as easy as I thought. I guess if 4 other supervisors weren't able to get that done, there was a reason. And the reason is money, funding, trying to figure out how we're going to pay for it. And so one of the conversations we've been having over the last 2 years is, well, maybe if we can't get that beautiful library next to the community center right now, if we can't afford to do that right now, can we just get a better library, something with more space where we don't have to wear earplugs when the kids are playing on one side of our library? And so that's something that we have been working very hard with between the county and the library authority, and trying to just have a good understanding of who pays for what and how can we enhance the library situation in Orangevale. We kind of feel like Orangevale is underserved with our library, and we think we need a better library. And so what we're down to now is there are a couple of opportunities to repurpose an existing building that's vacant into a new library. One of them is the Walgreens? The Walgreens. And one of them is right where the library is located now. Does everyone know where the library is located? Behind Annie's? Well, that strip center is partially vacant now. And so that opportunity in that existing location would be, if the existing businesses were willing to relocate over, then we could maybe put the library on one whole side and maybe like an L on the other side of that existing strip center. And both of those options are amazing. And I don't have a preference. And what we're doing right now, the county is doing some research. They're negotiating with property owners. The real estate department is drawing out, the improvements in each of those scenarios and negotiating who would pay for, who would cover those costs for improvements and what would the rent be and all that good stuff, so that we have 2 proposals that we can bring to the public for a public forum. Hi there, come on in. There's plenty of seats over here too. So I anticipate that I do know, I called and asked for an update this week, and they basically said we're meeting with the library authority staff in this coming week, and we are going to have a final drawing that we'll be able to give to the owner of the property that is located behind Annie's, where the library is now. And then they will need some time to review that and see how they feel about it. So we're still waiting, but we're getting closer to getting down to the bottom line. And once we get down to that bottom line, we're going to have a couple of opportunities. And we're going to be reaching out to Orangevale residents to have some public meetings, to have some conversations about what those options are, and determine what you folks would like. And then from there, we will make a decision, and we will, I'm pretty sure we're on our way. So we're getting closer. It's really exciting, but we're not there yet. We're going to have a big celebration when this happens, and I'm going to invite everyone. I'm going to invite all those supervisors that are still with us, and we're going to celebrate. But it's not what we wanted, but The way I feel about it is if you can't be with the one you want, love the one you're with for a while until you can be with the one. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think we've lost the dream of the library on the hill. If funding did come through for that, that would definitely still be an option if state funding came through. But until we can do that, then we would. This will be much nicer than what we have. A much nicer floor plan. Now, some of you might be aware that the county is working on a curbside enhancement project along Hazel. And I met with Greg Fowl with the Rec and Park this week, and we kind of walked along Hazel and took a look at, some of the improvements there. And Tina has been working with the county staff to identify some possible solutions. I guess what happened was the grant that they got for this curbside enhancement only covered so much, and there wasn't money for a sidewalk that would cover between this community center and the church down there. On this side of the road, there's that small area that you walk, and it feels really kind of scary when you're walking that path. So what I am hoping, and the suggestion I made to Greg this week was, well, maybe we could do a plan B, because what I noticed was that for the community center, there's a setback. They've moved all the electrical back. They've put the sidewalk graded and put the sidewalk in, but the electrical then goes back out to the road for the distance of that lot. And as far as the county is concerned, whoever improves that lot would be responsible for that improvement, and that ends up being around $300,000 or $350,000 to move. I'm assuming, in my mind, from what I can see, that it's moving the electrical and the engineering and all the stuff that goes with that. But I said, what if we could just do a path, just over your lot down to that other sidewalk? It doesn't have to be a sidewalk right on the road that makes us have to move the wires. Why can't we just do a path from, across your property that you can just tear it up when you're ready to build the library? And so that's the conversation that Tina's been having with County Department of, General Services, DOT. And yes, Tom?
So is there any projection of anybody going to be doing any improvements over there? I mean, is there something in the mill that?
Well, that property is owned by the Rec and Park, and my understanding is they have an agreement with the county to kind of preserve that space for the library. And so I think there is kind of a partnership there, a partnership understanding. I don't know if it's in writing. What I do know is that, and Tina, tell me if I'm understanding this correctly based on the report Tina gave me tonight, was that the county is very amenable to trying to figure out, okay, yeah, what can we do? We can help. Maybe we can figure out how to cover part of it, and Rec and Park can cover part of it, the cost of a path that meanders in a safe zone there.
Because I remember doing an improvement down on Hemlock, and we ended up bringing a sewer line down, and we ended up having an agreement where anybody did any improvements on the houses that did not get in on the initial project, then they would, once they started their thing, they would have to pay us back for their thing. So if you have an agreement, it's a 15-year agreement, I forgot what that's called, but it's a 15-year agreement, so if anyone was got improvements in the next 15 years, that's in binding now with the county, with the records where, then that has to be paid, if you're gonna move the power lines.
Yeah, the county does not own that property from the county.
I know that, but I mean, if you were to do the project, you could put this agreement on there, and then the improvements that get done in the next 15 years, you get paid back.
Right, and I think the challenge that the county has is there's no funding for the $300,000 sidewalk. I mean, the county got a grant for this easement, or for the sidewalk improvements, but it's a very specific as to what they can do with that grant, and that was apparently not included. Is that correct, what your understanding is, Tina?
Yeah, and But that's why there are other alternatives that they are gonna try and look at, some different options that could be less money, feasible now. It still wouldn't be a year out because they have to do an acquisition of right-of-ways and that sort of thing. But he was gonna put pencil to paper and see if he could come up with some other alternatives that maybe we could, because he agrees that that's just not a safe.
It's not a safe
it's not
area.
Not
Yeah.
a good walking area.
So I hear what you're saying, and that's done all the time with development and all that good stuff.
Right.
I'm not sure the county would have the money to front in order to get paid back later, is what I'm trying to say.
To keep in mind that
Yeah,
there is a 15-year agreement that we can put in place to get action.
yeah. Yes.
Hi, just out of curiosity, is there a phase beyond Hazel that's going to, beyond Greenback, that's going to go this direction for more lanes?
At this time, it just goes to I think we're in phase 3 right now,
Correct.
and it just goes to Madison.
Madison.
And it's going to come to Greenback. It's just going to finish at Madison. That's my understanding.
Okay, so there's no more forethought for the engineers or the county?
I'm sure there is part of the plan, but it's not I don't think it's at the forefront right now as far as having the funding available. It's going
Now take care of the
to take time.
sidewalk
Yeah, yeah. And this is difficult because this is such a busy road, and it's a busy road. So that it'll be good when we get those improvements all the way down.
issue. Yeah, everyone.
Yeah.
You mentioned that it's become a busy road. I was just noticing the other day, they're hauling huge containers of chemicals between 50 and 80, and the amount of trucks has definitely increased since Hazel was completed. And I was wondering if there's been any thought to limiting those, because they're coming through.
the state highway?
To my knowledge, we don't have a county ordinance that limits the weight on Hazel Avenue. We do have that in other areas, like in Citrus Heights. Big rig trucks of a certain size are only allowed to drive on certain roads that give them access to deliver at the mall or wherever they need to go. To my knowledge, there's no limit, no ordinance that limits that access at this time. So, and all those big rig trucks pay, they pay an extra tax that's supposed to help cover the cost of that, assuming the state doesn't redirect that money to something else.
Because the trucks are marked with the toxic,
Yeah,
and the hazardous, and if something happens, it's gonna be a residential nightmare.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
An accident.
yeah,
because they've increased.
I don't know how to, I don't know how to, it's a public thoroughfare, so I have seen local jurisdictions limit trucks based on weight and their wear and tear on the road. Not so much content. So far, I haven't seen that. I mean, we could ask about that and get more information and feedback for you if you want.
The DOT issue, I used to drive, the DOT issue as far as content, limiting based on content, and
I mean, they're licensed and their trucks have a certain label on them so that if it tipped over, everyone knows how to respond in an emergency. Those labels on the back of those trucks are a code for whatever's inside there, if it's milk or chlorine, gas, or whatever. And if it turns over, that's the immediate first thing that first responders know to get who out.
You can push to get it restricted as far as trucks on the roadways, because I can tell you right now, as far as Folsom and Roseville are very anti-truck. There are very few roads that you can go on in Folsom and Roseville if you're a truck driver, but
Folsom's had a lot of problem with all those granite, you know,
Yeah.
all the building and the
Yeah,
big,
but with
huge,
this- with
heavy
this being
trucks.
out, as far as, because this is in the county, it's gonna be a lot harder for you to get it passed out here. And because that is the main thoroughfare between 80
And
and
50
50.
is
And
tough.
it's one of the only ones, and you're gonna force trucks to go all the way around through Business 80 and back around. And it's
a
gonna be
tough,
almost
it's
impossible
kind of a
to
tough
get it done.
situation. Yeah.
The only thing that you can do is ask CHP to patrol it more, because a lot of those trucks, they do it to avoid the scales, that antelope. So you can ask
Okay.
CHP to patrol it more, and you might be able to get a lot of trucks off of there, but otherwise it's gonna be almost impossible to shut the trucks down out there.
Okay, let's move on, because we're getting
I'll make it real quick.
behind.
I think everybody's kind of nailed it on the head. If you were to petition and put some kind of restrictions on, then we'll have less breakdown on the roads long-term. But at the same time, they're gonna see, hey, we need to run these vehicles through here. Let's revert some money back into this fair and get this road repaired. So on the political side, if we were to get something going on limitations, say, hey, we care about this raceway through here, let's get it fixed. So we put limitations,
I-
might like that, wake them up a little bit.
Yeah, I think in the general plan, you know, we have plans for complete streets, and part of the goal of, you know, part of the result of those complete street designs is that it reduces the number of lanes, it creates sidewalks and trees and calming, it slows traffic, and it kind of helps a little bit with some of that heavy, fast traffic, loud traffic, but this is a main business thoroughfare. It's not through a neighborhood. This is a main, Hazel has become a main connector. It's the connector between the region. It's a regional connector.
My concern is there's a main gas transmission line that runs right down Madison
Yeah.
and onto Pershing. And then you've added the extra trucks.
Well, they're managing those you know, PG&E is coming out. They've got technology that is checking those gas lines, those main gas lines, especially after that incident in LA a few years back. And they've been working overtime, double checking those lines. So I feel pretty comfortable that they're on top of that infrastructure and so forth. Okay, moving on, has everyone heard about the Electric Greenway project? Citrus Heights is going to be putting an electric greenway, and what they're calling it electric greenway, but it's basically a walking, biking trail. And I did not go to the meeting, but Tom DiGiacomo did, and he said he would give us a brief update on that. Tell us where it's going from and to, Tom, and there's flyers in the back regarding
It's
this.
starting out by that park over by Serenara and Sunrise Boulevard. There's a small park there. It starts there, it winds through Genco Park, goes over to Sundance Park, which is Orangevale Park District. It goes up Highwood, left on Woodmore Oaks, over by the 7-Eleven over there, and then it goes all the way through 7-Eleven, where Escalonia, it winds out onto Seabar C. Then it goes from there over to Woodside Elementary School, and all up through there. It is a hell of a project, and there's flyers over here, because last night was the first open house that they had, and take that, get on their website. Last night we went, they had a whole bunch of cars where neighbors, and the place was full. Neighbors had a lot of concerns, a lot of things going on, but on that website, they take what was poured out last night and put it on there, what the concerns were and how they're going to address it. So the next meeting that we have, we'll probably get a better feel of all of this. But patrolling was the big one, and lighting was another big one on there. So it is a hell of a big project. Don't know where it's all going to end up or going, but it's a 2-year project. They plan on breaking ground on 2021. So there's going to be time for everybody to get their input in. But keep your eyes and ears open, because this is serious. That's all I want to say.
Okay. And, okay, so that is exciting. That's a great recreational amenity for our community, for our region, I think. And so that'll be fun to see how that unfolds. We also have a lot going on at the county right now regarding economic development. And one of the things that the county did last year was, did I tell you about the retail center analysis by Cosmont yet? Okay. The county enlisted the help of some consultants who came in and did an analysis on the retail centers in the unincorporated county. The whole idea behind that was that we wanted to get an idea of what do we have, who are the retail centers that are suffering the most, and what are the market conditions, and what do they need to do to make their way through all this change, and how can the county, what can we do to help them? Yes.
Hi, I'm Shelby Brew. We emailed, I haven't met
Hi,
you.
Shelby.
So when it says retail, it's not a service, a shop. It's only retail?
What we're talking about is those big shopping centers, like Sunrise Mall. They're big and small, but, they couldn't do them all, so they picked out they strategically picked out some centers that seem to be suffering, having the most what they call leakage, which means, those communities are not getting business, the business is going somewhere else because they don't have that service, or those centers have a lot of vacancies, and blight, and homelessness, and all that kind of stuff. And so they identified 21 retail centers, and it wasn't really in Orangevale that they selected a retail center, but what's important about this is the information that they came up with. And basically, what they shared with us is that retail is changing, that internet sales are at about 80 billion right now, and they're projected to go to 120 billion. Retail used to be that people would go to a big mall and they would shop, and while they're there, they might go to a movie or they might go to a restaurant. What it's changing to now is people will go to a restaurant or a place that they want to be, like a placemaking, an enjoyable atmosphere, or in some entertainment. They'll go to those things and they might shop while they're there. And so that completely changes the whole dynamic of what goes on in these malls. And what they're basically saying is that those retail centers that are able to re-tenant, they will be the ones who survive the change, and the others will close and they'll be repurposed into maybe other real estate or something else. And so, and you might notice, a lot of the malls they're becoming kind of quiet. My husband and his buddy go walking at Sunrise Mall all winter, and it used to be they had all these people there, and he said it's like a ghost town now, and a lot of the stores are empty. And so the challenge now is to figure out, okay, what businesses. The opportunity, they're saying, is with more food, restaurants, furniture, health and personal care. There's even banks across the nation that are building restaurants in the middle of the bank, so people will go to lunch and do their banking while they're there. So it's changing, and what we're trying to do at the county also is to go back in time, before my time, to a time when we used to have what they call community spotlights. And we started with, Orangevale was among the first to be spotlighted, and those brochures are going to be beautiful. The county has reached out to the public to get input, and we're going to have, basically what it is something that we have, that if someone comes to the county and says, I want to start a business, but I'm not sure where, and we say what kind of business, and then this kind of gives them an idea of what kind of people there are there, and what kind of stuff is there, what does this community look like, and does your business fit there? Or do you fit there, for real estate, if you want to buy a home? And so, They are finalizing those community spotlights as we speak, and the first 5 were Arden Arcade, Orangevale, North Highlands, and Foothill Farms. So you guys were at the forefront, which was really nice. Yeah. County is also attending national shows, working with real estate brokerage communities. We're going to be reaching out to some of those retail centers that are, have a lot of blight and problems, to see, what we can do in a, some kind of a, partnership arrangement, or how can we support those businesses in improving their situation. Homelessness. I wanted to give you an update on homelessness. We received a update on homeless in our December 12 meeting, and I was so excited because I'm really proud that our county because we had a lot of turmoil in 2017 around this homeless thing. Everyone came in and decided they knew all the answers, and our county staff had been studying it for like a year and a half. And they came up with these initiatives, and they put the initiatives to work. And what at the end of the day, they have done an amazing job this last year with their initiatives that we approved. If you remember, it was redesigning the family emergency response, preserving Mather campus over in Rancho and their homeless center, full service rehousing, flexible supportive rehousing. Basically what we wanted to go after was, there's about 250 high service users that have been homeless out in the streets for years, or a decade, 8 to 10 years, who they're the ones that are in the emergency room the most and that use the most services, that's costing the taxpayers the most money. And so one of the initiatives was to target that 250. I'm so proud to say that out of that 250, 109 are now in either transitional or permanent housing. And one of them is a kid, not a kid, he's in his late 20s, from Fair Oaks, who his parents were killed in some, I don't know the details, but his parents were killed in some horrible situation. And he was shattered by that. He became homeless. He's been homeless for 8 years. He's now been under a roof for 6 months, and it's going really well. He's in his late 20s. So, I mean, there's some really, one of them was a real high user. And when I say user, I mean some of these people are, when you know how when you go to the emergency room, it's, immediately 20,000, and you were there for an hour and you had a cold. I mean, it's so expensive, and I don't mean to be sarcastic, but I used to work in an emergency room, but it's very expensive. And when you don't have insurance, the cost is passed to the taxpayers. Someone has to pay it. And so what they're costing, some of them are costing $20,000 a year, some are costing $100,000 a year. The average is around $45,000 or $49,000 a year. And so by getting those high user, those they call them long-term high cost. I guess that's what I call them, long-term high cost homeless people. But they're the ones that are costing us a lot. So that's a focus. We've also been focusing on, young people. We have a lot of youth that are in our high schools that are homeless, and they're living in cars or on couches, and they're still going to school. So focusing on those foster children who have aged out of the system, and families that are homeless. And so all these homeless initiatives are all different. Now, someone came up to me when I first walked in here tonight, and they said, Sue, are you going to do what Mayor Steinberg's suggested? What was your name again?
John Williams.
John. I did not know. I didn't know that the mayor was asking the board to do something. I guess this was in the Sacramento Bee, that he was asking each of our districts to have a large homeless facility. Is that correct?
Yeah.
He did not personally ask me that, so if he's asking me through the Bee, I'm probably not going to get the message. And I can tell you that I'm really excited about what we're doing at the county. You know, we did approve a 75-bed facility, but we couldn't find a place where we could put it. We couldn't site it because nobody wanted it. Either they didn't want it, or every place we went, it was too close to probation, it was too close to a school. You know, it was just hard to site something like that. And so we went to this scattered site model where we put 5 homeless people in a house, and we wrap services around them. And that's a transitional situation where we don't actually have to even buy the house. We can sublease, we can lease it, we can expand that model quickly, and it doesn't disrupt the whole, it's not a huge disruption to the community, and we can contract it if we improve the situation. So the county now has 14 of those scattered shelter sites. One of them is in District 4. They have 3 outreach navigation sites, one's in District 4. They have 7 Department of Housing Assistance walk-in offices, one is in District 4. And so we do have resources, and we are expanding those wraparound services, and we also have memorialized agreements with the DA and the sheriff, law enforcement, alcohol and drug treatment services, family health, county expanded services. So everybody's on board, and it's like a partnership that we're all working from different sides of the problem. And guess what? In 2018, 344 exited into permanent housing. In 2016, there were around 2,600 homeless people. In 2017, the homeless count was around 3,600. And the homeless count's going to come out in January. The concern I have is if the problem is growing faster than we can fix it, then, I mean, we'll see. I'll be reporting back to you in a couple months on what that is. Yes, or it might be on Facebook.
The program is called the Chronic Offenders Program.
Chronic, thank you. Yes, chronic defenders, yeah. I forget, I'm a senior, that's my first problem. I forget things. There's so much coming at me, I can hardly keep it in my head. That's why I have notes. Okay.
I was just wondering, like, because my impression in Sacramento, the city, is that the primary problem that Steinberg is having is kind of a sense of NIMBYism in the different districts, that a lot of the different districts are saying no.
Right.
My question to you is to what extent do you think that that's a problem here, and like what can be done to kind of address that? Like, I hear the scattered approach as well, but it sounds like that's going to be a lot harder to try and provide those same services in the scattered approach as opposed to more concentrated. So I'm wondering.
Actually, the scattered site model, first of all, the NIMBYism, having trouble citing it is not just for Steinberg. We're all having that problem. So, I mean, I think part of the mayor's problem, this is a complex issue, and it's not easy. And so he had a goal, and he went after it with the best of intentions, but it's not, we're all doing that, and we're all making adjustments, and we're all making them. So I think that's part of it. I can tell you that probably a big part of our scattered sites are in Sacramento City, just because that's where a lot of the homeless people are, and that's where we were able to quickly get them in place. And we told staff we wanted them to get them up and get 75 people in transitional housing ASAP. So they went where they could get it ASAP, and where the problem was ASAP. So our homeless initiatives are helping Sacramento City. And the thing I like about the scattered site model is that there's no big special licensing, because if you have 5 people or less, you don't have to have a special license around that if you're not doing detox or medical services. And if there's any kind of a problem, if someone's disrupting the neighborhood, we can quickly move them out of that house and put them into another situation that might work better. And we have oversight, we have wraparound services daily that are managing these properties. We have nonprofits that we're contracting with that are overseeing that. So that, and I actually have had real estate investors call me and say, Sue, I wish we could build tiny homes, wish we could do, what can we do? And I said, wow, do you like buying houses and renting them out and knowing your rent's gonna come in and the situation's gonna be well managed? Because you might be able to just partner with us and you buy the house and lease it to us, lease it to the company that's working this program. So there's actually, opportunities opening for and people who want to do something that are able to help, which I think is kind of exciting. Yes.
Hi, my name is Brian.
Brian.
Of all the issues that we deal with, this to me seems to be one of the most pressing, because I think we can all, we don't have to think too hard. All of us know somebody who has been or is in this circumstance. As far as the scattered approach, I like the idea of a smaller unit. I'm worried about the cost of that versus one facility of housing 75 versus 15 housing 5. What are the acquisition operational costs, additional staffing at each site? Is that a higher or lower number? Does that balance out?
Well, everything that you do on the public side costs so much more. And so building a big building, you can't just buy a big building. You then have to bring it up to current code. You have environmental, you have ADA. By the time you get through you have to pay them certain wage and do all the planning and the consulting. You've spent millions to get that situated.
The bureaucracy.
Okay, yeah, right. And you're then, if it's a county building, you're paying employees to manage it. And so now you have payroll and pensions, and I mean, this is what's in my mind. I don't know that that's how it goes, but what I'm saying is that what I like about the scattered site model is that we can enlist the help of well-qualified nonprofits who specialize in certain things. So one company is getting the houses together and administering the program, making sure the county has different departments that are bringing the services in, or we're outsourcing to or partnering with contracting with others to bring other services like alcohol and drug or mental health or whatever. We're finding ways to capture more funding, around those services and not wrapping up a lot of taxpayer dollars in more big buildings, okay? Which is great. I mean, I think the idea of efficiencies is valid. The problem was we were not able, we were trying to figure out at the end of 2017, we had that big conversation around how they wanted us to put the money to work immediately. Remember, between Sacramento City and the county, and they wanted us to put it to work within 3 years. We knew we had to immediately put that money to work, and we might still be twiddling our thumbs trying to figure out where we were putting that, and now we have 14 houses, 5 each. What is that? I'm not a math person. I need my phone. Huh?
70.
All right. Okay,
70 persons.
there you go. Within a year, we reached our goal without a whole lot of millions of dollars of investment. I'm sure there's a lot of money invested in all this, but at the end of the day, this whole homeless situation is for me, it's upsetting. I have compassion for homeless. I have a family member who's just came out in the last couple of days out of homelessness. Hopefully she'll stay. I have compassion for them, but I also have compassion for the taxpayers who are footing the bill for this problem, or the businesses who are impacted by the homeless people who, are doing terrible things in front of their property every day. And so somehow, I'm not sure what all the solutions are, but what I do know is we are having some success in changing lives, and it's one person at a time. And each one of those people has to decide they want to live. They have to, or we have to figure out how to get them on medication so that they can get to that point where they can manage. And a lot of the people who come into these transitional housing are, maybe it's a veteran and they have disabilities to help pay, or they're a senior and they have Social Security. So a lot of people have revenues. And then the other thing that happened this year, and that we're going to be voting on in the next couple weeks, is an initiative that I asked for, which was to partner with Pride Industries for a homeless program that would partner with Pride for a homeless cleanup, for a cleanup on the American River Parkway with homeless people, because there are people out there who don't have some kind of a revenue source, and you could actually get them into assisted housing if they had some kind of revenue source. And this gives them the revenue source, the oversight, the ride to work, the whole bit. It's giving them a leg up until they can figure out how to do it from there, basically. So
Increases their own self-sufficiency.
they do it for special needs, and it's working great I've never been so inspired. If you haven't toured Pride Industries, go down there. It's the most inspiring thing. If I could just be that happy. I'm happy. I love my job. But, those people are so happy. They walk up to you and say, look what I did. I put 10 tea bags. I got the award of the month. And they're so sweet. It's just sweet. It's wonderful. Okay, so anyway, the next step is the No Place Like Home funding, which we talked about a couple months ago. And we're anticipating that as one of the medium-sized cities, we're going to qualify for around 4.9 million, estimated that we might qualify for, but we have to decide what we can do and how much we can bite off, because the No Place, remember, is affordable housing that puts developers back to work in building. If they allocate 30%, say, of their project to the No Place Like Home, then we can draw down on Mental Health Services Act funds for bond money that helps them pencil out those projects and makes things happen that can't happen in today's housing market because developers can't pencil it out. And so that is going to be really exciting, because we have some motels and we have some facilities that are ripe for that kind of a conversion. And it's a good situation for mental health patients who they really would be better off not to be in a big, huge mental health ward. They're better off to be in a little apartment surrounded by a community that kind of, they'll have someone on site there for 20 years to oversee the facility. That person, if they need help, generally what they're saying is those people need help for the first 3 years. And then after that, they start to meld into the community, and people around them kind of watch out for them and help them along. And so those are tending to be some success. I'm hearing that others are having success with that, so we'll see how that goes. I wanted to also tell you that quality of life programs, the parkways, remember we invested $5.7 million to clean up the parkways. The regional parks cleared 5,639 camps and 1,612 tons of trash in 2018. I'll say that again. Regional parks cleared 5,639 camps and cleaned 1,612 tons of trash off the parkway in 2018. And I already told you about the Parkway Pilot Program, which we're going to start linking parkway cleanup with homeless initiatives, which is going to be awesome. Pardon me?
Can they still do that with the new regulations?
We are, with this what we're doing with that We declared a homeless emergency at the county a couple months ago so that we could capture the No Place Like Home funding, so that we could get developers that can come in and we can convert some of these projects into affordable for the mental health. And then with the scattered site, we are working with some of that No Place Like, some of the extra funding that we're getting this year is going to try to work on the communication, how do you call it? The communication utility that's going to help us be able to have a cop go out on the dark street, make a phone call and say, is there a room available? And know where that room is, and we'll be able to offer the room. We're not there yet, but yes, it is the Ninth Circuit Court decision has, from what I understand, resulted in, people not being as shy about being homeless. They don't go hide in the bushes anymore. They just sleep on the bench because they know they can, under the light. But what we're doing so far, we're working really hard to be able to offer that so that we can move them along. If they're committing a crime, keep in mind, if they're doing something wrong, we can arrest them. If they have a warrant, we can arrest them. So, and a lot of times they are. So, do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah,
if they're hurting the vegetation, if they're ruining vegetation or whatever.
I thought it went beyond that, though. I thought it was about needles and unhealthy. It was a matter of unsafe cleanup, too,
For, what do you mean, for
for cleaning up the parks.
the cleaning up the parks is, they wear heavy gloves, they have to be very careful. We've gone out and purchased special equipment, and if you're ever out there and you see, an area that has all this big pile of garbage, it's because they just gathered it all and put it there, and someone's gonna be coming soon to haul it away. That's why we can't really, it's kind of hard to have school kids go out and
Yeah.
clean up the park.
Right.
It's just not safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I get some clarification on what you mean by kind of clearing out the parkway? I mean, there are obvious waste, but then there's also sleeping bags and life-saving things that they have out there that are being confiscated as well. So I'm wondering what is being considered waste, because in some cases, especially in the weather that we're facing, that when they have no choice, when there isn't homes available, when 3,000 is quite a bit more than the amount being served, are those people's life-saving materials being taken as well, though?
No, the county has an ordinance that says that we have to give them notice. So we can't just go and take if they're not in that camp, we have to leave a note that says, you need to move this within, is it 2 or 3 days? And so they can come back and get it. If we come back and they're not there, then we can move it, but we have to store it for 90 days. And we have big, huge storage bins where we're storing all this stuff. But the reality is, and what I can tell you is, I have talked to Parks, and I have said, because I was concerned about the cleanup because I felt like we were just going to push the problem down the road and they would come back. I said, are they coming back? And they said, well, yeah. Yeah, they're coming back. Guess what? They can find, I can't even believe how many good people there are in the world. They just keep giving them mattresses and coats and food and, all that stuff. We clean it out and they find it and they bring it back. So as long as you have, a lot of those folks that are out there, if they have drug problems or mental health problems, they don't even remember. The sun comes up in the morning and they feel comfortable, and so they take their coat off and they walk away and they don't remember where they left their coat. They don't know that they are leaving it. They don't have a sense of, I might need it tonight. So it's complicated. I don't know if I answered your question. I don't think I did. I don't know if there's an answer. It's a tough one. Okay, Ken, is it time?
No. Could you elaborate on what's being done for the homeless veterans?
Homeless veterans.
Isn't there a special program that's put together to put them in homes?
We do have well, we have several, we have vouchers that are specifically set aside for veterans. We have, I'm not sure what you're referring to, Ken. Or do you know what you're referring to?
The area over by Mather?
Oh, yeah, I mean, Mather Village, it has a very, a wonderful program where they are working closely with veterans, and actually, the county has added a lot of extra funding last year to enhance and grow that program, to grow the veteran program and expand it. And there's also some conversations around having a center over there by Mather that will be close to the hospital, close to the housing, that will provide all the services in one place for the whole region for veterans. So that's a conversation that's ongoing. There's probably a lot of details I could tell you about the veteran thing, but I'll have to come back another time because I forget. Thanks, Ken. Sorry, I didn't answer your question, but. Okay, I'm going to move on. We're almost out of time. Shoot. I'm going to let you know that speaking of veterans, we have the Veteran Advisory Commission up and running, and their first meeting is on January 17, 2019, and they'll be voting in a chair and a vice chair, and they'll be deciding on their meeting dates. They have to have a minimum of 6 meetings this year. So if you're a veteran and you have issues and you don't feel heard, that's a good place for you to go, and because they are an advisory to the Board of Supervisors, and so that will elevate the voice of veterans in the region. I also wanted to share that it's that time again where we're going to be coming out with online surveys about how do you feel. I want you to know, I was new last year, okay, and we did those first surveys, and it was like so exciting because I was actually like, oh wow, I'm such a good fit for this district. I mean, in a big way, I felt like I could predict how you guys were gonna. You guys are, in general, my district is very like me, and I was excited about that. But I was also excited because there were times when people brought up things or had comments that I wouldn't have thought of, and that really helped me in representing you at the board. There were times when overwhelmingly the district basically told me how they felt, and it was helpful. I do want to say that in the first surveys that we did, the top priority was public safety across the board in all of District 4. And in the most recent surveys that we've done, the top priority is homelessness. So it kind of gives me an idea of trends and concerns in the community and growing problems and so forth. And so I want to encourage you to fill out those surveys. Yes?
Sue, is there any way on Facebook that you know that those responding or voting are in your district? Is there a way to restrict that?
Yes, we can, I pay extra for a program that allows me to see the geographic, like there have been times when, like with the Inspector General issue, there have been times when my district had voted, and then in one night, within 2 hours, it got shared, and it got shared with people out of my district, out of town, out of state, and all of a sudden, all these votes started coming in, and it completely turned this thing upside down into something completely different overnight. And there were people emailing me saying, Sue, I want you to be aware that some of these people that are voting are not from our district. And my response was, not to worry. I know nobody can steal my district's voice. I know what my district is feeling, and I can see that from where I'm sitting. So Yeah, and that is really important, because wouldn't that be terrible if I went and voted on something thinking I was representing you and it wasn't at all what you wanted because someone just came in and stole your voice online? So, no, we're very careful, we watch very carefully those surveys. And I also wanted you to know that and we're almost out of time. Well, does anyone have any questions? The Inspector General, it is pretty settled, much settled. We're going to be going out for an RFP, and we'll be receiving applications, and I'll be able to give you updates. But the sheriff is excited about getting going and getting an Inspector General in place, and so are we. And so we'll be working on that over time. And I wonder if anyone has any questions. Yes, and then you.
You're not gonna like this, but I can share this. This has been hitting me for a long time.
Okay.
This might not be the only case, but this is something that I am very close to, because you mentioned compassion for taxpayers, and you mentioned special licensing. So let me share with you what happened just within the last, I'm gonna say 6 months or so. I basically get deep tissue massage every week for over 30 years, and I need it because that's what I need. And I've been going to a blind masseuse here in Orangevale, okay? When he came in Orangevale from Folsom, he had to go get a special licensing for Orangevale, okay? He got that his first year. He went to, when the renewal came up, he's blind. He doesn't see now or anything like that. His wife didn't pay their special licensing on time. So when that came across, actually a sheriff walked into his place of business and was ready to shut him down. That's what they wanted to do. Turns out where they wouldn't even allow him to pay a penalty for not paying on time. They basically canceled out the special licensing. They had to go back, he had to go to massage school from square one all the way through again. He's blind, so he goes to a rehabilitation program, which is the county. They coughed out over $20,000 to get him through that process again.
Oh my God.
That is not the way we want to run this. I mean, come on, special licensing, if you miss it on time, anything else, you pay the penalty and you move on. But why did they make him go through the whole record?
Yeah, I think.
About taxpayers.
I think maybe something that would prevent that from happening would be just an automated phone call. If we could put in place, sending out the notice and then also put automated phone, sometimes automation can help with stuff like that. I mean, it's hard when you have 1.5 million people in the county and a lot of businesses, and you have an obligation to treat people, the same under the law, special exceptions are sometimes hard, but was that recent, or was that?
Yes, in fact, he's at a point right now where they're waiting for him to take the test, and of course, for him to take the test, he has to have someone from the county verbally give him the test, which is more money coming out of the county's pockets.
Did they give him a little more time, though, the time he needed? Is he?
He's been ready, but the county isn't ready to give him the test because they don't have the men.
Well, if he needs help, tell him to call my office, and we'll do everything we can to see if we can't help.
I'm sure he's only one case out of a lot, but because the special licensing didn't pay it on time, why isn't just a penalty and pay the damn thing, after that, or whatever the penalty is? We don't pay anything else on time. We pay a penalty, we pay it.
Some of the laws are written in a certain way. It's kind of like I've had like a church who had made some improvements on their facility without getting a permit, and then later came back and wanted to do something, and they were no longer grandfathered in because they didn't get that permit. There's certain regulation, the laws are written in a certain way that sometimes
And they said the sheriff had.
it's a problem.
Well,
The sheriff couldn't shut him
and just from, I think because it's a massage thing, I'm working in community development. When massage parlors were thought of as massage parlors, they were not what we think of them now. And so one of the things that happened was a lot of regulation went into place for a lot of massage therapists. He may have gotten caught into that trap because he was late on the payment of,
And he had to come
your
up.
old license was under this, we now have a new law, so now you have to do that. And I understand what you're talking about on the frustration is the county ended up paying all this money where he could have just paid a late fee, which would have been less. That might have been one of those situations where contact our office and we can maybe have a conversation with whichever office.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, unfortunately, you do have the grandfathered things in that get changed once you change it just a little bit. And sometimes it doesn't happen often, but sometimes something like that does happen.
And it's heartbreaking.
And it does cost a lot of money that you go, this is ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just life.
Okay, I'm gonna take two more, Jim, and then the lady in the back. Oh, Jane.
You mentioned something about 3,600 or 2,600 homeless. Was that the county or your district or what?
That was the county,
The county.
countywide homeless
Okay.
count.
And they took down for, what do we have now, 2,600 or 3,600?
36 something in the last one.
Okay.
And
They took down 5,000 camps?
no, they removed 5,000 camps, but that wasn't eliminating them out, that wasn't transitioning them out of homelessness, that just cleaned up their camp.
Of course. But 3,600 had over 5,000 camps.
They just kept moving.
Yeah, and Jane, I know I told you, but I promised this lady, and then I'm gonna get to you, okay?
Our road conditions are really horrific. Do you have any updates on if there's going to be any kind of overlay, resurfacing projects, especially along Madison? We have potholes everywhere. And the potholes are only replaced if it's complaint driven. I'm talking like from Fair Oaks to Greenback, along that whole stretch. It's nothing but holes everywhere.
There's a major overlay project coming to Madison I believe, between Kenneth and Hazel.
Okay.
And that's gonna be coming in the next year or so. That's like right next up on the list. Did someone say something? Well, I know, I know.
We're all running. Our roads look.
I know.
And where's our gas tax?
I think if you, I think the thing to do is write a letter to your assemblyman and write a letter, I mean, when SB1 did not get repealed, so that money won't be taken away, so there are projects lined up.
Okay.
But that doesn't even cover a third of the problem.
Okay.
When I was running for office, the deferred maintenance on our on our Sacramento County roads was $450 million.
Okay.
And it right now is over $700 million in 1.5 years. And the reason for that is because as the pavement condition digresses,
Yes.
it becomes exponentially more expensive to fix, there's more requirements. And so what we have is a problem, a political, I personally think it's a political problem where politicians are not prioritizing our infrastructure. And it's something that they can easily just let that go so they can do their special project and look good to whoever's going to vote for them. And what we need to do is figure out how to let them know we want them to change that, but we need the people who have the power to use the power.
Yeah.
The power is in the votes.
Well, the problem is, with Orangevale, we travel between Fair Oaks and Orangevale, and, there's potholes in the middle of Winding Oak that will swallow a car.
And
they're temporary patches.
Right, I know, but do report it, okay? You know about 311, right?
I do report it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go out there with a white paint can and spray them. I work for a municipality, I work on road projects myself.
Oh, that's why it's bothering you, because you know.
I know.
But if you know the 311 app, you can take a picture and quickly report it, so you don't even have to make the call, right?
I don't know.
311, you can download, it's a phone app.
Oh, yes, yes.
And it makes it really easy, and once you report it, technically, any municipality, as you know, has to go out and fix it
They
if you
do,
report
but
it, because then if someone hurts their car or themselves,
Exactly.
county has to pay for it,
There's
is liable.
so many, I'll be out there like till the cows come home.
I know, it's bad. I wonder
And it's sad. I
when
mean,
someone's gonna wake up and prioritize roads.
we live in such a nice neighborhood, and to go and see how bad our roads look.
We need a campaign, we need to write Gavin Newsom. We need to say, what? Maybe he'll fix the roads. He's our new governor. Okay, Jane's next, and then after that, I'll be here as long as you want, where this is our last question.
I'm Jane Wise with Friends of the Orangevale. And I'm hoping you can look in your crystal ball. Because we've been talking quite a bit about some upcoming public meeting where people can talk about location.
For the library? Yes, you might have been a little later. At the very beginning of the meeting. Oh, okay, so, okay.
My concern is just that I'm interested in timing because it's been going on and on and on. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I know you're saying now we're putting information out to potential locations for what it would cost purpose, and we're going to get some responses back. So my question is, in your crystal ball, how long will it be before we actually have that public meeting to talk about it?
I think in the next, I'm anticipating in the next month, we'll be able to start, maybe less, but in reality, the real estate department has drawn up what they see as improvements. They need to present their proposal to the owner of that last property, which is over behind Annie's, and say, who pays what? Okay, so will you accept this proposal at this rent, and will you cover this and we'll cover that, and blah, blah, blah. Once that owner says, yes, that will work for me, then I'm sure they'll probably sign an MOU or something like that, or I don't know how they do that. And then we'll go to the public and we'll have pictures, we'll have the layout. They're going to put them on boards for the location and the layout and the amenities and the size and the whole bit. And you'll be able to do like they did in that meeting that Tom was talking about, which write your concerns and preferences and changes, and it will be it will really come down to where does the community want this library to be. And I have basically told the staff, I don't care. I just want a better library. I want a bigger library. And whatever the community wants, that's what I want. And I'm sure we won't be able to agree. There will be some that want each of them. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out, but we'll figure it out. All right, thank you all for coming, and I'll be here as long as you want me to if you have questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. You ran right up here, didn't you?
Hey, no, I don't. All right. What about you? I want to see if she can tell me why.